What's going on, everybody? Today is Wednesday, October 3rd, 2012. My name is Kevin Sixen Carlino, and this is the third episode of my Blizzard All-Stars Informational Series. Today's episode is going to be all about stats and itemization for the heroes that I covered in last week's episode. So how did Blizzard go about doing stats and itemization in Blizzard All-Stars? Well, they sat down and they figured out what each of the systems meant for the game. How did they interact with heroes? What exactly is important about both of these systems? Once they figured that out, they then simplified both systems, and they were able to reduce the amount of stats and items in the game as a whole. So why don't we look at each of them separately and then tie it all in at the end. So as far as stats go, when you think of stats in a game like Dota, what do you think about? There's quite a lot. So we've got armor, we've got attack speed, we've got movement speed, spell reduction, and then of course we've got health and mana. But what affect health and mana? Well, we've also got strength, agility, intelligence, quite a bit of things to think about. So Blizzard saw that, and they were able to narrow it down to just 3. So we're looking at health, we're looking at damage, and then we're looking at mastery for Blizzard All-Stars. So obviously health and damage are pretty straightforward. Mastery, also not very complex at all once you understand it. Again, mastery just reduces your cooldowns by a percentage. It also adds some mana for your hero. So what are we looking at again? We've got health, just going to be our armor, as well as our total health. We've got damage, pretty straightforward again. And lastly, mana is just going to interact with our mana. So it covers pretty much everything in just 3 stats instead of 7, 8, 9, 10 stats. So again, simplified, but just because it's simplified doesn't mean that strategy has been completely removed or anything. And I'm gonna touch base on that throughout the entire episode. So hold that thought for now. Let's take a look at items. So as far as items go, what are we looking at? First thing is, we're going to be looking to buy items from our great goblin friends. As you can see, one of them is hanging out a window. They got the for sale signs on there. The other one's kind of just hanging out right in front of their little house-looking thing. Otherwise, they're having a great old time. They like being in this world, and they're going to be selling us some great items. So what items exactly are we looking at? So again, items were actually also simplified and broken down up into 4 different sections. So there's consumables, there's stat bonuses, and then of course we've got items and artifacts. Now I don't really like that they're calling that section items. Technically everything that we're buying is an item. I think that they should change that to maybe like rares or uniques. Obviously artifact, legendary, same thing, but this other item category is just very generic, very broad, I suppose. But otherwise, how are items going to work with our heroes? So basically, because they were able to reduce the amount of items, they were able to focus in on what items mean. So again, stat bonuses, what does that mean to us? Okay, so stat bonus items come in the form of tomes. We've got 3 different tomes, again, 1 for each stat. So we've got a tome of health, a tome of damage, and a tome of mastery. And what does that do? You can purchase as many as you want, and they're just permanent upgrades for your health, your damage, and your mastery. So this means throughout the entire game, you can permanently be increasing and upgrading your character, aside from these actual items that we're going to store in our inventory. Second category, consumables. Okay, what do you think? Well, Dota's got tons and tons of different things, like teleports, couriers, they've got mana potions, clarity potions, salves, tangos, all kinds of things. Blizzard simplified it. There's healing potion, mana potion, and then a auto turret, which is like a portable tower, which is actually really cool. So you're probably wondering, oh my god, how is there still strategy if there's only 3 different consumables, 2 of them really only affecting our character? Well, when you think about it, in Dota, there's just 7 different items that do the same thing. In fact, tangos and healing salve, very similar. Tango you can use in combat, healing salve you can't. Whether or not you can use these potions in Blizzard All-Stars in combat has yet to be seen, but again, Blizzard saw that and said, okay, there's 7 items doing the same thing, let's just make 1. Why add the complexity when it's unnecessary? So third and fourth categories are items and artifacts. Let's just take a look at the screenshot. So again, very top we've got the stat boosts, we've got the consumables, which you can actually see. Items and artifacts, this is very interesting. Items can actually be upgraded 3 times a piece. So you can buy an item once, you've got that item, you can use it. If you buy it 2 more times, it can be upgraded up to level 3. So it works very similar to, say, a Dagon, or even, I believe, a Mantis style in Dota. So again, you purchase it, and then it can be upgraded. Artifacts cannot be upgraded, but these are going to cost a little bit more. These are going to be work differently. It's probably going to be a much better item, especially because you can't click to activate. Now, it may also function differently. As far as items go, Blizzard has looked and changed that into, I suppose, 4 categories as well. So, I mean, we've got stats, we've got consumables, get those out of the way. The last 2 are going to be passive upgrades, which is going to be the minority of the items. So you just have the item and it's going to passively give you better stats. And then, of course, click to activate with cooldown items. Those are going to be things like perhaps the Cloak of Flames, which is the only artifact that we know of. You click and activate that, and you're enveloped in flames, and you do fire damage to enemies around you. That's how the Cloak of Flames worked in Warcraft 3 Melee. So we can assume that that's how it's going to work in Blizzard All-Stars. If not, not a big deal. It's a great example. So let's take a look at this again. So we've got our 4 different categories of items. In the bottom left-hand corner, we can also see the amount of times that we've actually upgraded our stats. So again, bottom left-hand corner, this green icon, the shield, as well as the field, 1190. This is going to be the amount of health we have, and the number underneath is going to be the amount of times we've upgraded this particular stat, so 7 times. The next field over is going to be the red sword with the red field. Our DPS is 46. We've upgraded that twice via tomes. The next field is mastery. We have a 0% cooldown reduction, as well as, I'm assuming, no extra mana. And then, of course, we haven't upgraded this at all through tomes. Now, if we look at the actual items in the shop above, damage is actually in the middle. So it's going to cost us 400 gold to upgrade damage, 350 gold for health, and 500 gold for mastery. So it's going to cost you a bit more if you want damage over health, or even mastery over damage over health. So keep that in mind. Actually, and as you can see here in the particular items, the shop actually interacts with your hero, shows you what items you can potentially get. So if you look down at his inventory bar, the first one is going to be this poison javelin thingy. It's only level 2. But if you look at the item shop, it shows that he can purchase up to level 3. This fireball thing that he's got is currently he only has, it is maxed out. So he has level 3, it is maxed out. For artifacts as well, it says that it's maxed out, meaning you can only purchase one of these at a time. So, that covers stats, that covers items. Let's tie it all together. Again, some of these items are going to permanently affect our stats, right? Stat boosters, or boosts, in the form of tomes, they're going to permanently affect our stats. So that throws out a ton of items from Dota. I mean, when you think of items in Dota, what do you think of? What do they do? Okay, some are consumables, some are stat boosts. Well, most items have a stat boost, and most items also have a click to activate, or a passive. And then the other ones are things like potions, although those are considered consumables. So with just 20 items, Blizzard covers hundreds of items or different variances that are in Dota, in just basically the forms of simple stat upgrades, in addition to levelable, upgradable items, and those artifact items that are going to be special and do have whatever special effects that they have. So in all, what does this mean for our characters? Well, they're able to remove hidden stats like armor and attack speed, especially because of how the stat and item systems work in conjunction with each other. Aside from that, it makes things a lot simpler, right? Because these games are supposed to be quicker. They don't want you to have to think for 10 minutes and look up this item build on Wikipedia or whatever. How do I play this character? Well, yes, there's still going to be strategy involved because, again, there's only 4 inventory slots. So you're still going to have to figure out, okay, what items do I want? As a tank, do I want to be getting, well, obviously I'm going to want some stat boosts, but which ones do I want? Do I want some extra damage? Yeah, I'm a tank, but hey, it can't hurt to do some extra DPS. Or as a tank, maybe, hey, I want that Cloak of Flames to do that area of effect fire damage around me. It still involves strategy, because again, there's about 20 different items. Well, again, only about 16 items if you remove the stat boost. So there's 16 exact items, probably going to be added on to, expanded in the future, but again, for what we have right now, there's 16 items, only 4 item slots. What do you use? Do you have 3 items / artifacts and a consumable because you're going to want potions, or that auto turret's going to come in handy for support characters? So strategy is certainly involved. It's all about combinations and permutations, right? There's only 4 inventory slots, but there's still 16 potential items. So math, yay college, right? So again, strategy is still involved because you're going to have different item builds for each character. So keep that in mind, guys. Just because they're simplifying doesn't mean that there's no strategy involved. So that's going to do it for today's episode. If you guys learned anything, definitely like the video, subscribe to this channel. I'm going to be doing a bunch more episodes about Blizzard All-Stars. Follow me on Twitter, @Sixen. Let me know what you think. Definitely comment below. Let me know what you guys think about the stats and itemization systems. I'll send that feedback off to Blizzard. Otherwise, next week's episode is going to be all about the mount mechanic. Again, the boots were removed from the game and replaced with mounts. So it's a nice little preface for next week's episode. Otherwise, guys, take it easy. Hope you enjoyed it.